The vast chamber of the Galactic Council stretched upward into what seemed like infinity, its crystal walls shimmering with an inner light that cast rainbow patterns across the gathered delegates. Lisa Baker smoothed down her navy blue diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. Next to her, John Martinez kept his face carefully neutral as they waited to be announced. The representatives from Sol 3, known as Earth, may now approach, announced the hovering translation device in a gentle tone that somehow reached every corner of the chamber. Lisa and John walked forward, their footsteps echoing on the pearlescent floor. Around them, arranged in ascending tiers, sat the representatives of 12 different alien species. Some floated in containment fields filled with their native atmospheres, while others perched on specially designed seats that accommodated their unique body structures. The council leader, a tall Meridian with silvery skin and 4 arms, peered down at them through compound eyes that reflected light like polished diamonds. "We welcome the Earth delegation to this chamber," they said, though their tone suggested anything but welcome. Lisa stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "We thank the Galactic Council for granting us this audience. Earth is ready to join the interstellar community." A low murmur rippled through the chamber. A bulbous creature with tentacles that changed color with each word spoke next. "Your species has barely mastered faster than light travel. What makes you think you're ready for full membership?" John watched as Lisa maintained her diplomatic smile. "We may be young in terms of space travel, but humanity has much to offer. Our adaptability, creativity, and resilience." "We've reviewed your history," interrupted a reptilian delegate, scales bristling. "Your planet has known nothing but war. You fight over resources, territory, beliefs. How can such a violent species be trusted?" Lisa felt her cheeks warm but kept her composure. "With respect, Ambassador, we've learned from our past. Our wars taught us the value of peace. Our conflicts led to cooperation. The United Earth Government was formed precisely because we understood the importance of unity." The Meridian Council leader waved 2 of their 4 arms dismissively. "Pretty words, but actions speak louder, as your own species says." John stepped forward, speaking for the first time. "If I may, Council leader, perhaps we could demonstrate our progress through actions rather than words." The chamber grew quiet. The council leader's compound eyes shifted, focusing on John. "Explain." "We've prepared several presentations showing Earth's achievements in science, art, and peaceful cooperation. We'd be happy to." A harsh laugh cut through the air. All heads turned toward a delegation Lisa hadn't noticed before. Their representatives stood up, towering at nearly 3 meters tall. Their metallic skin gleamed under the chamber lights, and their voice carried a mechanical undertone. "The Zoraxian Empire has heard enough," the delegate announced. "These humans are soft. Look at their weak forms. No natural armor, no claws, not even basic environmental adaptations. They hide behind words because they have no strength." Lisa felt John tense beside her. She placed a subtle hand on his arm, reminding him of their diplomatic mission. But before either could respond, another delegate spoke up. "The Zoraxians raise a valid point," said a being that appeared to be made entirely of shifting crystals. "How can such a physically limited species contribute to galactic security? The Outer Rim pirates grow bolder each cycle. The darkness between stars threatens our trade routes. What can Earth offer in these troubled times?" Lisa exchanged a quick glance with John. They had prepared for skepticism, but this level of dismissal was unexpected. She activated her datapad, projecting holographic images of Earth's defense forces, scientific achievements, and artistic works into the chamber center. "We may not have natural armor," she said, keeping her voice level, "but we've developed technologies to compensate. Our ships." "Technology can be copied," the Zoraxian delegate interrupted again. "What makes humans unique? What makes you worthy of joining this council?" The chamber fell silent again, all eyes fixed on the 2 humans. Lisa felt sweat forming on her brow, but refused to show weakness. She was about to respond when John spoke up again, his voice carrying a hint of steel beneath its diplomatic tone. Council members, if you've truly studied our history, you know that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our bodies or even our technology. It's in our spirit, our ability to face challenges that seem impossible, our determination to overcome any obstacle. The Meridian Council leader leaned forward slightly. Fine words, but again, just words. The council requires proof, not poetry. Lisa saw their opening and took it. Then let us prove ourselves, council leader. Name your challenge. The chamber erupted in murmurs and clicks and electronic buzzes as the various species communicated among themselves. The Zoraxian delegate's metallic face split into what might have been a smile, though it looked more like a predatory grin. Yes, they said, their mechanical voice filled with satisfaction. Let them prove themselves through the traditional combat ritual. If they survive, perhaps they deserve consideration. Lisa felt her heart skip a beat, but her face remained calm. She had studied the council's traditions extensively before this meeting. The combat ritual was rarely invoked, but it was their right to demand it. She looked at John, who gave her an almost imperceptible nod. We accept, Lisa said clearly, causing several delegates to shift in surprise. They clearly hadn't expected such quick agreement. However, we request one modification to the traditional format. The council leader's compound eyes sparkled with interest. What modification? Before the combat ritual, we wish to demonstrate one of our own traditions, a ceremony that has been part of human culture for thousands of years. It will help the council understand who we truly are. The chamber grew quiet once more as the council leader considered the request. Finally, they nodded all four of their arms in agreement. Granted. You have 2 planetary rotations to prepare both for your demonstration and the combat ritual. This audience is concluded. As Lisa and John walked out of the chamber, she activated her comm unit. Captain Wright, we need to talk about war dances. Behind them, the council members continued their discussions, none of them understanding that they had just given humanity exactly what it needed. A chance to show their true strength, and it wouldn't be through combat alone. John waited until they were in the privacy of their shuttle before speaking. They're underestimating us. Lisa smiled, and for the first time since entering the chamber, it reached her eyes. They always do. Should we tell them that humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to surprise? No, John replied, returning her smile. I think it's better if we show them. As their shuttle departed the council station, neither human noticed the small monitoring drone following them, nor did they see the Zoraxian delegate watching their departure with growing interest. The next 2 days would change the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. They just didn't know it yet. The briefing room aboard the Earth ship Star Voyager hummed with quiet tension. Lisa Baker stood before the holographic display, watching as Captain Susan Wright reviewed the footage from the council meeting. The captain's weathered face remained neutral, but her eyes sparkled with something that looked suspiciously like amusement. So, Susan said, pausing the replay, they want a combat ritual, and we're giving them a dance performance first. John Martinez leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Not just any dance, Captain. We need something that will show them exactly what they're dealing with. The Zoraxians basically handed us a gift, Lisa added, pulling up more data on the display. They expect us to either back down or fail spectacularly. Their combat ritual traditionally involves one-on-one physical combat. Susan nodded slowly, a smile spreading across her face. But we get to show them our tradition first. And there's nothing in the rules about what kind of tradition it has to be. Correct, John confirmed. The council leader approved the modification without asking for specifics. They probably think we're going to bore them with some diplomatic ceremony. The captain stood up and began pacing, her boots making soft sounds on the deck. Have you contacted Earth Command about this? Lisa activated another holographic window, showing a series of communications. They've already approved our plan. Admiral Chen thinks it's brilliant, showing our strength without actually starting a fight. The thing is, John added, pushing off from the wall, we need to make this perfect. The council thinks we're soft, primitive, and weak. We need to shock them out of that mindset before the combat ritual even begins. Susan stopped pacing and turned to face them. I might have just the thing. During my last shore leave on Earth, I visited New Zealand, saw a traditional haka performance. Her eyes lit up with excitement. It was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. The Maori war dance. Lisa pulled up some historical footage. The room filled with images of warriors performing the intense ceremonial challenge. Not just that, Susan continued. We combine it with other Earth traditions. Brazilian capoeira, for example. It looks like a dance, but it's actually a martial art. And our modern military drill formations. John moved closer to the display, studying the movements. A fusion of different warrior traditions from Earth's cultures. That could work. But who performs it? Susan tapped her comm unit. Lieutenant Karen Peters to the briefing room, please. She turned back to Lisa and John. Karen used to teach combat choreography before joining the service. If anyone can put this together in 2 days, it's her. Minutes later, Karen Peters entered the room. She was shorter than the others, but moved with the fluid grace of a trained fighter. After they explained the situation, her face lit up with enthusiasm. Oh, this is perfect, she said, already making notes on her datapad. We'll need at least 20 performers. The council chamber has excellent acoustics. We can use that. The stomping alone will create an impressive effect. Remember, Lisa cautioned, this isn't just about intimidation. We need to show them that humans can be both powerful and disciplined. Karen nodded, her fingers flying over the datapad. We'll start with complete silence. Build tension. Then begin with synchronized breathing. All 20 performers, in perfect unison. The sound alone will get their attention. The Zoraxians think we're weak because we lack natural armor, John mused. Let's show them how humans can be hard as steel when we need to be. Over the next hour, they refined the plan. Karen selected crew members with combat or dance backgrounds. Susan arranged for proper lighting and sound amplification, all within council regulations, of course. Lisa studied alien physiological responses, making sure their display would have maximum impact without causing actual harm. As they worked, a message came through from the council chamber. The Zoraxian delegate was requesting details about their traditional demonstration. Lisa crafted a carefully worded response that revealed nothing while remaining technically truthful. They're getting nervous, she said with satisfaction. They expected us to back down or stumble. Instead, we're moving forward with confidence. Speaking of confidence, Susan interjected, we should discuss the combat ritual that comes after our demonstration. The Zoraxians will choose their champion, and we need to be ready. John brought up the historical records of previous council combat rituals. It's always one-on-one, but the exact nature of the combat varies. Sometimes it's more like a wrestling match, other times it's closer to a duel. We have an advantage they don't know about, Karen said, looking up from her choreography notes. Every movement in our demonstration will actually be a combat technique disguised as dance. By the time we're done, we'll have shown them our entire fighting style without them realizing it. Lisa smiled, and when their champion faces ours, they'll be seeing those movements again, but this time as they were originally intended. The room fell quiet as everyone considered the elegance of the plan. They weren't just preparing for a performance or a fight. They were rewriting the council's understanding of humanity. One more thing, Susan said, breaking the silence. We need to consider the psychological impact. Many council species have never seen humans display aggression. This will be their first exposure to our warrior traditions. Good, John replied firmly. Let them see that we're not the soft, weak creatures they think we are. Let them understand that our lack of natural weapons or armor doesn't make us defenseless. It made us learn to be stronger in other ways. Karen stood up, stretching. I need to start training the team. 2 days isn't much time to perfect this, but we'll make it work. We always do. As the others filed out of the briefing room, Lisa remained behind, studying the holographic displays. The council chamber's architecture, the positions of the different species, the lighting, everything could be used to their advantage. Susan paused at the door, having second thoughts. Lisa shook her head. No, just thinking about how this might change everything. The council needs to understand that humanity isn't just another species asking to join their community. We're something they've never seen before. And after our demonstration, Susan asked. Lisa's smile held a hint of steel. After our demonstration, they'll never look at humans the same way again. They think they're testing us, but we're really teaching them. They just don't know it yet. As the ship's artificial night cycle began, the sounds of rhythmic movement and synchronized breathing could be heard from the cargo bay turned practice area. Humanity's message to the galaxy was taking shape, one step at a time. In 2 days, the Council would learn why underestimating humans was always a mistake. The cargo bay of the Star Voyager had been transformed. Lieutenant Karen Peters stood in the center, watching as 20 crew members moved in perfect synchronization. The rhythmic stomping of their boots echoed through the space, creating a primal beat that seemed to vibrate in the bones. Again, Karen called out, "Remember, every movement tells a story. We're not just dancing, we're showing them who we are." The performers reset their positions. Among them, Lieutenant Kevin Morris wiped sweat from his brow. As the team's cultural advisor, he'd spent the last 18 hours helping Karen blend different Earth traditions into something entirely new. "The breathing needs to be deeper," he suggested. "Think about how the Haka uses breath as a weapon. It's not just about the sound, it's about showing our life force." The team began again. This time, their collective inhale filled the cargo bay with a rushing sound like an approaching storm. The exhale came out as a controlled growl that made the deck plates vibrate. "Better," Karen nodded. "Now add the movements. Remember, precision is everything. We need to look like one organism moving with 20 bodies." Mary Patterson, their chief cultural officer, watched from the sidelines while making notes on her datapad. "The council species all have different ways of showing strength," she explained to Captain Susan Wright, who had come to check on their progress. "The Zoraxians value physical power. The Meridians respect precise control. The crystalline Axari are impressed by synchronized group actions. And we're giving them all three," Susan observed, watching as the team moved through a complex sequence that looked like a cross between a military drill and a martial arts kata. "Exactly," Mary agreed. "The stomping and vocal projections will impact the Zoraxians. The precise, controlled movements will appeal to the Meridians. And 20 humans moving as one will fascinate the Axari." On the practice floor, Karen was adjusting individual positions. "Steve, your arm needs to be exactly at shoulder height during the third sequence. Amy, drive your foot down harder on the second beat. We want them to feel it in their seats." The team had been practicing for 16 hours straight, stopping only for short rest breaks and energy supplements. Their dedication showed in the way they immediately corrected their positions, never complaining despite their exhaustion. Kevin walked through the formation, studying the angles. "The council chamber has tiered seating. We need to make sure our energy projects upward." He demonstrated a modified movement that seemed to push invisible force toward the ceiling. "Good catch," Karen said. "Everyone watch Kevin. See how he's directing the energy. That's what we need. We're not just performing for the people at our level. We need to reach the ones in the highest tiers." Lisa Baker entered the cargo bay, carrying new data on her pad. "I've got the final chamber measurements and acoustic readings. The crystal walls will amplify our sounds by approximately 30%. "Perfect," Karen smiled. "That means we can actually tone down some of the vocals. Let the chamber do the work for us. It will make us seem even more controlled." John Martinez joined them, looking concerned. "The Zoraxian delegate has been asking questions. They want to know why we need 20 people for a simple cultural demonstration. Let them ask, Susan said firmly. We're operating within their rules. They can't object to a traditional Earth performance, especially since they're the ones who challenged us. The practice continued. Hour after hour, the movements became smoother, more precise. The breathing grew more synchronized. The stomping developed a thunderous quality that seemed impossible from just 20 pairs of boots. Remember, Kevin addressed the team during a short break. This isn't just about intimidation. We're showing them humanity's spirit. Our strength isn't in claws or armor or natural weapons. It's in our unity, our discipline, our ability to work together. Mary added, each of you represents a different Earth culture in this performance. When you move, you're carrying thousands of years of human tradition. Let them feel that weight. As the final hours before the demonstration approached, Karen made them run through the sequence one last time. The cargo bay fell completely silent. Then, as 120 humans began to move, the sequence started slowly, controlled breathing, subtle movements that rippled through the formation like waves. Then the intensity built. Arms moved in perfect synchronization. Feet struck the deck in complex rhythms. Their voices rose and fell in patterns that seemed to bypass the ears and strike directly at the primitive parts of the brain. When they finished, even the watching officers were silent for a moment. That, Susan said quietly, will definitely get their attention. Lisa checked her data again. The combat ritual is scheduled for right after our demonstration. Are we sure about this timing? They might be too shocked to proceed. That's exactly what we want, John replied. Let them see our power first. Then, when they're still processing it, we'll show them our discipline in their combat ritual. The contrast will make both displays more effective. Karen gathered the team for final instructions. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans can do. Remember, we're not just performing. We're teaching them who we really are. As the team filed out, Mary made one last note on her pad. You know, she said to no one in particular, throughout Earth's history, war dances have served many purposes. They've been used to intimidate enemies, unite allies, and show respect to worthy opponents. And which are we doing tomorrow? Susan asked. Mary smiled. All of them. We're showing the Council that we can be whatever we need to be. That's what makes humans special, our adaptability. In their quarters, the 20 performers prepared for sleep, their muscles aching but their spirits high. Tomorrow, they would make history. Tomorrow, they would show the galaxy that humanity was ready for its place among the stars. And in the Council chamber, unaware of what was coming, the delegates continued their normal routines, not knowing that in less than 24 hours, their understanding of humanity would change forever. The Council chamber buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from 12 species shifted in their seats, their conversations creating a mix of whispers, clicks, and electronic hums that echoed off the crystal walls. The Zoraxian delegates sat forward, their metallic skin reflecting the chamber's rainbow lights as they waited for the human demonstration to begin. Lisa Baker and John Martinez stood at their assigned platform, facing the Council leader. Behind them, the chamber's main entrance remained closed. You may begin your cultural demonstration, the Council leader announced, their 4 arms making formal gestures of permission. Lisa stepped forward. Honored Council, before we begin, we request that all translation devices be set to monitoring mode only. What you are about to witness requires no translation. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. The Zoraxian delegate's metallic face shifted into what might have been a frown. Granted, the Council leader said after a moment's consideration. The floating translation spheres dimmed slightly, indicating they were now only observing. Lisa nodded to John, who touched his communicator. The chamber's main entrance slid open. Complete silence fell as 20 humans entered. They wore simple black uniforms with no insignia or decorations. Their boots made no sound as they moved in perfect formation, led by Commander Alan Phillips. They arranged themselves in a precise pattern on the chamber floor, directly in the center of all the elevated council seats. For 30 seconds, no one moved. The humans stood completely still, eyes forward, not even appearing to breathe. The silence grew heavy, uncomfortable. Several council members shifted in their seats. Then it began. A single deep breath, taken in perfect unison by all 20 humans, created a rushing sound that filled the chamber. The exhale came as a controlled growl that made several delegates flinch back in their seats. Without warning, 20 pairs of boots struck the floor simultaneously. The sound cracked like thunder in the crystalline chamber, amplified by the architecture. Before the echo could fade, they moved. Arms swept up in precise arcs. Feet stamped complex rhythms that seemed to bypass the ears and strike directly at the primitive parts of the brain. Their voices rose in a chant that contained no words but carried ancient power. The Meridian Council leader's compound eyes widened as 20 humans moved as one organism, each motion exact, controlled, yet filled with barely contained power. Their forearms gripped their seats' armrests tightly. The formation shifted, creating patterns that seemed impossible for beings moving at such speed. The chanting grew louder, the movements more intense. Several delegates in the lower tiers pressed back in their seats as the human performance built toward its peak. In the third tier, a crystalline, Aksari delegate surface began to vibrate in response to the rhythmic stomping. Next to them, a gaseous being's containment field fluctuated with each thunderous impact. Commander Phillips led his team through the final sequence. 20 voices united in a battle cry that shook dust from the highest chamber tiers. Their movements became faster, more aggressive, yet never losing their perfect synchronization. The Zoraxian delegate had stopped pretending to be unimpressed. Their metallic features were frozen in an expression that might have been shock or fear. It was hard to tell with their alien features. Lisa watched as the performance reached its climax. The humans moved through combat forms disguised as dance, each motion precise enough to perform surgery, yet powerful enough to shatter stone. Their voices rose and fell in patterns designed over countless centuries to bypass rational thought and trigger instinctive responses. In the upper tiers, a delegate with multiple eye stalks swayed dangerously in their seat. Next to them, another delegate's color-changing skin had frozen on a pale shade that probably indicated extreme stress. The final sequence began. 20 humans moved faster than seemed possible, their formations shifting like liquid metal, their voices building to a crescendo that made the crystal walls sing in harmony. Their boots struck the floor in a rhythm that mimicked a beating heart, growing faster and louder until silence. The humans froze in their final position, a pattern that somehow managed to face every council member simultaneously. Their chests rose and fell with controlled breathing, not a single bead of sweat visible despite the intensity of their performance. For several long moments, no one moved. No one spoke. The chamber was so quiet that the hum of the environmental systems seemed deafening. Then 3 things happened simultaneously. A delegate from the upper tier slumped unconscious in their seat. The Zoraxian representatives' metallic faceplates clicked rapidly in what their species' equivalent of hyperventilation. And from somewhere in the middle tiers, a voice whispered, "By the eternal void, what are they?" Commander Phillips raised his hand in a precise gesture. As one, the 20 humans snapped to attention, turned 90 degrees, and stood at perfect parade rest. Lisa stepped forward again, her voice carrying clearly in the stunned silence. "Honored Council, you have witnessed a small demonstration of human tradition. We call it a war dance, a display of unity, discipline, and controlled power that our species has practiced for thousands of years." John joined her, his voice equally calm. "This is how humans prepare for challenge. This is how we show respect to worthy opponents. This is who we are." The council leader raised all 4 arms, perhaps unconsciously making the gesture of submission. We will need a moment to recover before proceeding with the combat ritual." "Of course," Lisa replied graciously. "Take all the time you need." As medical teams rushed to attend to the fainted delegate, Lisa caught John's eye. They didn't need words to share their thoughts. The first part of their plan had worked perfectly. Behind them, 20 humans remained motionless, their presence now seeming to fill the entire chamber despite their small size compared to many of the delegates. They had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before. And they weren't finished yet. The combat ritual was still to come. The medical teams finished treating the 3 unconscious council members as the chamber slowly regained its composure. The crystalline walls still seemed to vibrate with echoes of the human performance, though the actual sound had long since faded. Lisa Baker stood calmly at her platform, watching as the Zoraxian delegate engaged in a heated discussion with their assistants. Their metallic faceplates hadn't stopped clicking since the demonstration ended. Behind her, the 20 human performers remained at parade rest, their presence now commanding a respect that hadn't existed an hour ago. The council leader raised all 4 arms for attention. After that most enlightening cultural demonstration, we must address an important matter. They paused, compound eyes scanning the chamber. The Zoraxian delegation has withdrawn their demand for the combat ritual. A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. John Martinez stepped forward. May we ask why, honored council? The Zoraxian delegate stood, their metallic form catching the light. When they spoke, their usual mechanical arrogance had been replaced by something close to respect. The combat ritual is meant to test a species' warrior spirit. You have adequately demonstrated yours. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. We appreciate your recognition, honored delegate. However, if the council permits, we would still like to participate in the ritual. This caused another stir among the delegates. The council leader's compound eyes sparkled with interest. You still wish to engage in combat after such an intense demonstration? Yes, Lisa replied firmly. On Earth, we have a saying, actions speak louder than words. Our war dance showed you our spirit. Now let us show you our discipline. Commander Alan Phillips stepped forward from the formation. With the council's permission, I volunteer as Earth's champion. The chamber grew quiet again. The Zoraxian delegate studied Phillips with their metallic gaze. You would face our champion after expending such energy in your demonstration. Phillips smiled. The demonstration wasn't tiring, honored delegate. It was warming up. Before anyone could respond, a small delegate from the middle tier, a species that looked like a collection of floating lights, spoke up. I move to approve Earth's membership without further testing. Seconded, called another delegate, this one a massive being that seemed to be made entirely of living stone. The council leader raised their arms for silence. This is unprecedented. The application process has specific protocols, which include provisions for immediate approval when a species demonstrates exceptional qualities, interrupted a third delegate. I submit that we have just witnessed something exceptional. Lisa and John exchanged glances as more delegates joined the discussion. This wasn't exactly how they'd planned things, but they could work with it. Perhaps, Lisa suggested, we could offer a compromise. Allow Commander Phillips to participate in the combat ritual, not as a test, but as a demonstration of respect for council traditions. The council leader considered this a diplomatic solution. The Zoraxian delegation. The metallic delegate nodded slowly. Acceptable. Though I warn you, our champion will not hold back. We would be insulted if they did, Phillips replied. What followed was unlike any combat ritual in council history. Phillips faced the Zoraxian champion, a towering figure whose metallic form gleamed with weapons, and proceeded to demonstrate exactly why the war dance had shown only a fraction of human capabilities. Using movements that echoed the earlier demonstration, Phillips turned the ritual into a lesson in human combat arts. Each step, each strike, each block flowed with the same precision they'd seen in the dance, but now applied with devastating effectiveness. When it ended, the Zoraxian champion bowed deeply to Phillips, the first time in recorded history that a Zoraxian had shown such respect to a member of another species. The council's vote was unanimous. Later, as the human delegation prepared to leave the chamber, the council leader approached Lisa privately. That demonstration, it was never about intimidation, was it? Lisa smiled. No, honored leader. It was about communication. Every species in the galaxy has their own way of showing who they are. We simply showed you ours. And what exactly are you? The leader asked, their compound eyes reflecting rainbow patterns. We're human, Lisa replied simply. We can be warriors when we need to be, diplomats when it serves peace, and scholars when there's something to learn. But most importantly, we're adaptable. The leader nodded thoughtfully. The council chambers will be different with humans in attendance. Change can be good, John added, joining them. And we have so much to learn from each other. As they walked back to their ship, Lisa reviewed the day's events on her datapad. Beyond the chamber, news of what had happened was already spreading through the station. The footage would soon reach every corner of known space. You know what this means? John asked as they boarded their shuttle. That humanity has made its mark on galactic society. Lisa suggested. That too. But I was thinking about all the diplomatic events we'll have to attend now. Think they'll request our cultural demonstration often? Lisa laughed. Probably. But that's fine. We showed them our strength today. Tomorrow, we'll show them our wisdom, our art, our science. That's the real gift of humanity. We're never just one thing. Behind them, the council station grew smaller as their shuttle departed. Inside those crystal walls, delegates were still discussing what they'd witnessed. Some spoke of the precision, others of the power, but all agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed today. Humanity hadn't just joined the galactic community. They had redefined it. And this was only the beginning. Commander Phillips, reviewing the combat footage with his team, smiled as he heard the news. Not bad for a species with no natural armor, he mused. The war dance had done its job. The combat ritual had sealed their victory. But the real triumph was in showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their bodies or their technology. It was in their spirit, their adaptability, and their ability to surprise even themselves. As the Star Voyager prepared for its journey home, the council chambers still seemed to echo with the memory of 20 humans moving as one, teaching the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate humanity. They might not have claws or armor or natural weapons, but they had something far more powerful, the ability to be exactly what they needed to be when they needed to be it. And that was just the beginning of what they could do.